Hi, happy Friday. It's a lovely sunny day in Hamilton, Ontario, and I had a question yesterday which I've had a number of times now, so I thought I'd hop on and share some perspective. So, within the world of yoga, there are various forms of meditation. Each form of meditation has a different intention and it has a different outcome. One of the forms of meditation is called Vipassana, which translates as insight meditation. So, it's basically the intention of it is to gain personal insight. When you do this practice, there is no form of external influence. So the point of it is to train your mind to be still and be quiet. Your mind and your body are in the same place at the same time. By this I mean there is no using your imagination or using visualization. So you're not taking your mind outside of your body. Your mind and your body are in the same place. And by doing this, you pretty much filter through your own emotions, you filter through your own thought processes until you finally reach a point of clarity. And at that point of clarity, you start getting personal insight. So the question that I had yesterday had to do with the fact that I've done this twice. I've done 2 retreats like this in a Buddhist monastery for 21 days. And it is a form of sensory deprivation. So what I did was I stayed in the monastery, like I said, for 21 days. You're in silence. I stayed in my room by myself. I left once or twice a day. I ate 1 small meal a day and I drank anything between 10 and 12 liters of water. So by doing this level of intensive practice, there's an entire detox. So all of the emotions, the thought processes, everything that is essentially inside of your body surfaces a bit like styrofoam. You work through it with the guidance of people at the monastery, and you get personal insight and you get clarity for yourself about yourself. So the practice is exactly that. It's to gain personal insight, and it really is to know your true nature. So when I've had the question of why would you do that to yourself, it kind of makes me laugh because it sounds like punishment, right? Why would you punish yourself? But it's really not. It is immensely difficult. I will say most people go and they stay for anything between, they usually stay for say 3, 5 or 10 days. I did choose to do the practice for 21 days intensively. The first time I did the practice, it was officially the most difficult thing I had ever done in my life. But the outcome and the reward of it was immense. The other question that I had was, were you different? Like, did it change you? I think it definitely did change me. The level of clarity and the level of really knowing myself at that point, like a very deep sense of self, a very, very clear knowing of who I am, what I'm here to do, how I want to go about doing that was definitely the outcome. And then I did the practice again. I think it was 2 years later that I went back and did it again for myself. And I definitely will keep doing it. I've maintained the practice on a daily basis, obviously not to that degree, but you don't have to do it, that stringently. And I will most definitely go back to the temple or to the monastery every few years to do the practice again. So the question, relating to why would you do that to yourself, there's various aspects as to why I made this decision to do it for myself. First of all, I will say I've never met a healthcare practitioner who doesn't believe in something greater than themselves. So regardless of what their faith is, regardless of what their religion is, I've never met someone in healthcare who doesn't believe that they are supported by something greater than themselves. Simply because I think some of the things people process and some of the things that people see on a daily basis when they're working in healthcare, we simply have to believe in something greater than ourselves, because otherwise it would be too difficult to deal with. So my spirituality is very, very, very important to me, and the work that I do is most definitely rooted in that. So I have, as I've said before, I've lived and traveled through approximately 35 countries, and in that time I've learned various cultures. I've learned from different people in different places. I've learned about environmental factors, how they influence people, how they impact people, how cultures and various religions impact people and their belief systems. So I have an appreciation for all the world religions and all the world faiths. I don't label myself with one in particular, but I do have a preference for this particular practice, and it does involve me spending time in a monastery. So the reason why I decided to do this is, one part of it is that I am curious by nature. Like, I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to improve myself, I want to challenge myself, I want to do the things that I'm afraid of. And so I really wanted to know what is going to happen to me if I am left in a room by myself, with no external influences. What is the quality of my mind? Like, what's actually going to come up? What's going to show itself? And how am I going to deal with that? Because ultimately there is no escape. So within the media and within North American culture at the moment, I'm hearing the word escape a lot. People use various coping mechanisms, but when they speak of coping mechanisms, they will use the word escape. So ultimately there is no escape. Like, you cannot, you can't escape from yourself. You can't escape from your difficulties, you can't escape from your problems, right? Then we all have to face them, we all have to deal with them, we all have to process them. There is no escape. And the other reason that I know that there is no escape is that I have worked with people in chronic illness, and I've worked with people going through phases of hospice treatment. And a lot of the time people only start to process, why am I here? What am I doing? What is the point of all of this? What have I invested my life into? When they get ill, or when they lose something that's really significant to them. A lot of the time people start questioning, and they go through this phase in their 40s, or in many instances it can also be in their 60s, or if people lose their job, when they get laid off, for example, and they've invested a great deal of their life or a great deal of their time and effort into a job, and then they suddenly have no job. There is a huge process of loss and grief that the person processes, and they start to question, what on earth have I been doing? Like, why am I here? What's the point of everything? Or, as I said, when people get ill, suddenly the penny drops and the question becomes, I'm really ill now. What have I been investing my life into? What is the point of all of this? So for me, I've kind of done it backwards. As I said, I've worked with people through hospice, I've worked with people through chronic illness, and I also worked with a very young child years ago who was confined to a wheelchair. The only thing that he could move was his eyes. He couldn't speak, and through using alternative forms of communication, I helped him communicate with his hands. Like, every now and then, depending on the day, he also had severe epilepsy. Depending on the day, he could sometimes use his thumbs or his hands to communicate. And so these three environments, between working with this child and then chronic illness and hospice, I'm very self-reflective, and I often asked myself the question of, what would happen if that were me? So if I were confined to a wheelchair, or if I were confined to a hospital bed, if I were confined to a tiny environment that had no way of me escaping from myself, what would happen? And so that question led me to the monastery, and now I know what will happen. I know exactly what will happen, and I'm really happy that I did the process, right? Because also from the perspective of doing the trauma sensitive yoga teacher training, or helping people recover from burnout, traumatic stress, and the work that I do, is that you have to teach from a place of experience. So there is the the very practical aspect of using my healthcare background and understanding the processes of the physical body, but the spiritual aspect of people's lives is just as important. And very often that process of questioning only starts happening when a very serious life event occurs. So luckily for me, and I really do see it as luckily for me, I started that process of questioning very early. I think it's just the curiosity of my nature that takes me down these pathways. And so I really wanted to experience it. And for me, it's very important that when I work with people, through their processes, and I provide mentoring or provide coaching to them, I provide assistance to them, it's important that I always know within myself that I'm working from a place of integrity, I'm working from a place of congruence within myself, that I know my own truth, I know where I'm coming from, and I can teach from that place of experience, not only from academic or intellectual experience, but also from a place of personal insight. And so personal insight is very much what insight meditation gives you. That is the whole point of the practice. And so answering the question of why would you do that to yourself is that it's not punishment. Like, personal insight is possibly the most valuable information that a person can gain, because it is your own. There's no, when you spend time in a monastery and you do the practice, there's no reading, there's no writing, there's no teachings that's come from other people, there's no distractions, there's no phone, there's no, there's nothing that makes you escape from yourself or makes you avoid yourself in any way. It's just you, your own mind, and the practice, and working through what comes up. So I hope that's valuable information. I think also, just before I go, people often ask, like, why are we here? What's the whole purpose of it? And that is very much part of the reason of why I do these things to myself. So like I said, I want to learn, I want to grow. By the time I finally die, I want to be a whole person. And so a whole person very much includes understanding the quality of your mind, understanding the quality of your emotions, understanding the quality of the information that you consume, understanding what is important to invest in and what is not important to invest in. And so this is, when I say the word invest, I mean what we invest in emotionally, what we invest in mentally, what we invest in physically. All of these things, for me, all of these things need to be in alignment. Otherwise, we kind of end up in a spider web. We end up in a vortex of total confusion, because people get caught in a rat race and they totally forget what they're investing in, or the value of what they're actually investing in, until everything falls to pieces. So I hope that's valuable. I hope that answers your question. And if you have any more questions along these lines, feel free to reach out. The Trauma Sensitive Yoga Teacher Training is running in January 2020 in Thailand for 10 people. There are still available places for this. If you can't make the teacher training, there's also workplace training that's available, and I also work online. So feel free to reach out at info@salialife.com, or the website is salialife.com, SALIYALIFE.com. Have a lovely day. Bye.